All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Skill Up Show. Good afternoon. Who is with me? Welcome to the Skill Up Show. It's Monday, 1 p.m., the time where we come and talk about our young children and preteens. I call them preteens. They say they're pre-twins, whatever we want to call them. But I like to talk, and I like to talk about children between the ages of 6 and 14. And I always like to add that whatever works for your 6 to 14-year-old is likely going to work for your teenager, especially if you have a struggling teenager. And yes, if you're a parent that has children younger than that age, then you should be a part of what we do here at the Mastermind on PTM, of course, I mean, because PTM is connected to the mastermind, I'm always talking about the mastermind, isn't it? All right. So if you're a parent of a teenage, of a toddler now, you're a parent of a child who is younger than 6, then you should be on this show too, because what we discuss right here will be very beneficial to you. I like to always say that you don't go to war on the day of war. You go to war prepared. So if I were you as a toddler parent, I will be here taking my notes and then adding these notes to my parenting plan, right? Adding these notes, you should be creating parenting plans for 5 years, for 10 years, and all of that. So if you're creating a parenting plan, let's say you have a child that is 1, 2 to 5, you're creating a parenting plan for 5 years. It means you're talking of what you'll be doing with your child at the age of 5, 6, and 10. So yes, that's why you should be here, so that you are getting you're getting tools to create a robust plan for your child when they become young, children and preteens. And this is all because we want to raise amazing teenagers. Yes, we want to raise amazing teenagers that will be full of potentials. Yes, we want to raise teenagers who are full of potentials, teenagers who are engaged, teenagers who are busy, teenagers who are abundant. And so, because they are too busy conquering territories, because they are too busy impacting the world already, because they are too busy equipping themselves for the future, they do not have time to come and be giving you stress as their parents. So before you know it, you have a stressless teenage parent relationship, just because of the things that you decide to commit yourself to when the children were 0 to 6 and when they're between 7 and 10. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maribeth Chima. I am the founder of the Parenting Through Mentorship Academy and PTM Resources, and I am the proud and amazing matron of the Mastermind Circle. The Mastermind Circle is a peer mentorship and accountability group where we work with young children between the ages of 6 and 14. What is the goal of the mastermind? To help children move from being told what to do all the time, to help them move from being instructed all the time, to help them move on the spectrum from a motivation, that's 0 motivation, to the point where they become determined people. So that's our major goal at the mastermind, to get your child on the journey where your child stops thinking, mommy said, daddy said, because mommy will beat me, because daddy will beat me, because, and it turns to, because I understand why I have to do it, because I understand that it is the right thing to do, because I enjoy doing it, and because I understand that it is part of my purpose to do this so that I can impact the world, I can make it a better place, and then I can change lives. That's what we are doing with your young children when you bring them to the mastermind. We get children to start directing themselves, to sit and take the the front wheel of their own lives. And you would think these things are all impossible, but no, parents, they are possible. By the time your child starts thinking of himself as the major, like the primary factor in his own life, right? As he starts thinking of himself that way from the age of 6, I promise you, by the time that child is 10, the child has taken ownership of his life already. The problem is we continue to look at our children as little children. We continue to treat them as little children. We block them from taking responsibilities. We hide, we shield, we do everything. As my coach would say, there is no lion coming to eat your child. But because you have created lions in your head, you use those lions to inhibit your children, and you don't allow them stretch themselves, because of course you don't even have expectations that will stretch them in the first place. You are not stretching them, you are not allowing them stretch themselves. You are just there quarreling and shouting and beating and yelling. That is not it. So that's what we do at the mastermind. We get children to start thinking of themselves for themselves, believing in themselves, and daring to do the things because they can. All right, so welcome. Today we are talking about boundaries. We have been talking about boundaries. Is a series that we're going to be talking about at the end of July. Last week we talked about setting personal boundaries, how you can help your young children and your preteens understand that they need to set boundaries for themselves. My son is the lead partner of the mastermind circle, meaning he's like the head boy of the mastermind circle. Okay, he's a co-partner. He's the co-partner, co-creator, what do they call it? All right, so we run the mastermind circle together. Okay, and yesterday he gave a powerful session to his partners. Yeah. So yesterday he gave a powerful session on how they as children can set boundaries for themselves. I was cooking and listening to that session. And while listening to the session, I kept on shouting, Okpeo, Okpeo, like, what is this? Who am I co-creating with God? Because yeah, that's what I am doing. I'm a savior. I'm a creator. I am creating with God because he has given me the power and he has given me custody of these children. And he has said to me, hey, Mary Beth, go there and co-create with me. Fill the earth, multiply it, make it abundant and all of that. So this is the work that I'm doing. And this is the work that I hope that you as parents understand that you have been called to. You have been called to be co-creators with God. You have been called and given custody of these children so that you can go all out to build them, to support them, to empower them, to raise the bar, to raise expectations, and then of course help them, support them to reach those expectations and surpass them. This is your mission. This is part of your mission. I hope you understand it. All right, so today we're going to be talking about setting boundaries and how children can set boundaries, or how we can help them set boundaries in the area of learning and in their education, learning, reading, education, all of them is all encompassing. Okay, so we are majoring on getting these children to be lifelong learners and then getting them to begin. That's where it begins. Enjoying to read. That is where it begins. I wrote a post earlier on. All right, sorry. I need to become this. I wrote a post earlier on. Sorry about this. What's going on here? Okay, so I wrote a post earlier on and I said that a lot of times what we do as parents is we major the minor and we minor the majors. Give me a second, please. Parents, what's going on? Sorry about that. All right, so I was saying that we major the minors and we minor the majors. So that's why you will see parents, especially during this time of the year. It is that time of the year where the children are coming home with their report cards, they're coming home with their results and all of that. Some parents are dancing and they're calling their cousins, their sisters, their brothers, and everybody to talk about how amazing their children are and how well they've done during this academic year. Yet there are parents who are actually right now, cursing, like it's war in their homes right now. Okay, or it's going to be in the next couple of days, because yeah, the children have probably come home with results that are not acceptable. Okay, and then the next thing is, I've seen all sorts. Okay, I've been here for close to 4 years. Talking about 4 years, in 3 days time, is it today 17th, right? In 3 days time, the PTM community, my community on Facebook, is going to be 4 years old. I can't even believe it, that we've been doing this consistently for 4 years. So in 3 days time, we're going to be 4 years old. I can't even believe it. All right, so I want you to look at, we'll have a lot of bonuses, okay, in the group or out here, just to celebrate this milestone. Okay, so yes, I have been doing this for about 4 years online, okay, actively. And of course, I've been on a journey of intention, some level of intentional parenting journey before then. Okay, and so I can tell you for free that I have met parents who have all kinds of struggles, but one of the struggles that you keep hearing coming over and over again in, when you meet parents, is parents who are not satisfied with how well their children are doing in school. We all know that one. How, he was doing so well, or it was okay when he was in nursery school, and then since he got to year one, he's not doing well. Okay, and that's majorly one of the reasons why you see parents move children from one school to the other school to the other school and all of that. A lot of the times, okay, 80 out of 100 times, is because the child is not doing well academically. Not necessarily, I mean, there are other things that could come up, but most times because the child is not doing well academically. So that's one major thing that you see coming up in, parents and the issues that they have or challenges they have with their children. The next one you see is another one that you see is parents complaining. Why is my child not reading? I have tried everything. I have bought books. Oh, they would say it. I remember there was a season, I think that was last term. There was a season that I was outdoor a lot, okay, selling my books. Okay, so I was outdoors selling my books. I write books for children, by the way. I hope you know that. So I'm a child author for children. I author children books, basically. Okay, so I was out that period, moving from schools to schools. Okay, so usually on a special day, I would have a stand outside where our books are. So when parents pass, some parents will pass without even casting, a sideward glance. And I'm always like, hi, we've got books. How old is your child? Okay, the age range, basically, let's know what book can work for them. Okay, and usually you hear parents say things like this to me. Oh, my children don't read. I'm like, hey, Jesus help me. Like, you will hear parents say it without, the way you say, my children don't like pizza. They just say it casually. These are parents walking into school to pick their children. Okay, and they'll be like, oh, my children don't like to read books. I'm like, I'm tired of buying books. They will just tear the books. And it's just fine. Like, my children don't like reading books. It's just fine. Okay? Now, I'm not buying books because they don't like books. So let's move on to other things. But these are the same children that, when they don't do well in school, we gather every lesson teacher that we can think of. When you're not doing well in school, the child did not get a certain score, right, in school. The child did not pass math or didn't pass English language or something. What do? You get them a lesson teacher, and the next lesson teacher. I have seen all sorts, guys. Okay, I have seen the ones that the child will close from school, and then the child will end up in a learning center, like a lesson. The child will do lesson, like from school with uniform straight to lesson. The child will do lesson, say from 4 o'clock till 6:30. That's another 2.5 hours after being in school from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. or so. The child will land, straight from school to the lesson place. The child will finish from the lesson place. The child will get home. The child will have a bath. And at 7 p.m., another lesson teacher will show. And I'm not kidding you. This is it. I have seen all sorts. So this is a child from one lesson teacher to another lesson teacher. Some, you will see the child on Monday is a different lesson teacher that comes probably 2 times or 3 times in a week. And then after that, there's another lesson teacher that comes another 2 or 3 times. Like, all we need to do is change the people. When the people are different, the brain will take it differently, right? So, as my coach, Dr. Additional will say, Some of us major on doing the good things and we forget about doing the important things. We do the good things and we forget the important things. So yes, am I saying your children shouldn't do well in school? Not at all. Am I saying your children, you shouldn't worry about your children doing well in school? Not at all. My question or my problem is, why are you not worried about the fact that your child is not reading books for leisure? Why aren't you worried about the fact that your 6-year-old, your 10-year-old is tearing books all around the place instead of reading them? Why isn't that bothering you? The only thing that bothers you is the fact that your child is not passing so well, because it's not the understanding, it's nothing else that is bothering you. The thing that bothers you is the fact that at the end of the day, the report card comes and the report card does not put your child amongst the people topping the class. So that's what our problem is. Our children topping the class, our children coming tops. And then you see the ones that right from when they are little, you already have your eyes on a particular school that they want to go. So by the time they get to a particular age, it is pressure. So you put all that pressure, you mount all that pressure on a child because this is the closest gate to heaven. This particular place is the closest gate to heaven, or what? So I'm not saying that you shouldn't go to all, these schools that you think are excellent and everything. Why not? Why not prepare your child normally? Why not put excellence before your child and let your child go for excellence? And why your child goes for excellence, if the child sits for this exam and the child merits it, why not? So why did you need to go the extra length, pull the child, stretch the child, do all sorts of things just because you want a child to be somewhere, whether the child has the capacity or ability for it or not? You shall just have your goals. As I said before, am I saying these things are bad? I'm not. I'm just saying, have you ever stopped to think, is it possible that these things that you are majoring in is actually the minor things? Are you sure you're not majoring on the minor things and minoring on the major things? Today we're talking about how you can help your children begin to understand the place of learning in their lives, understand the place of reading for leisure in their lives, and so how you can help them begin to set boundaries that will make them excellent in these areas. I cannot talk about reading or learning and making this a life skill without going back to when your child was born, from the cradle, basically. If you follow me, you know that when I have my conversations, I start my conversations from the cradle. Why am I starting my conversations from the cradle? Because the foundation is everything. Didn't scripture say, the scripture refers to the foundation, isn't it? With the wrong foundation, everything is rubbish. Without the right foundation, if the foundation is wrong, what can stand really? Nothing can stand if the foundation is wrong. So you see a lot of those jumping around that you do. You jump around a lot because the foundation was wrong. You jump around a lot, parents, because the foundation is wrong. So the foundation should be your problem. The foundation should be your challenge. So if you're a toddler parent here, I am talking to you specifically. I wish I could call you by your name right now. I am talking to you, toddler parents. Please, if you're with me, why don't you say something in the comments? Say hi to me in the comments. I need to, or is it me that is not just seeing what's going on in the comments? Okay, all right. So if you're a toddler parent, please sit down very well, tie your belt. I am talking to you especially. Okay, I'm talking to you especially. Now, if you have children 0 to 6, you are the one I'm talking to right now. If you have children between 6 and 10, this is also for you. Pay attention. Now, if you have children older than this, no time is ever too late. It just simply means that the work is more, but it is never too late to raise children, to nurture children, to have certain habits. And these habits are lifelong skills. They are life skills and they are essential ones. Some of the most essential ones that if you get wrong, then you set your child up. Okay, the stage for failure is set up. It makes it a lot more difficult for your child to stand when the foundation is wrong. So according to Maria Montessori, you guys know that I am big on the I'm big on the principles of Maria Montessori. Okay, I mean I have other principles that I actually key into. I enjoy, looking into every now and then in education. Okay, Charlotte Mason. Awesome. Okay, so every educational system basically or principle has got something great in it. Okay, but let me quote Maria Montessori for what I'm trying to say right now. So Maria Montessori believes that if a child is put in the right environment, okay, the child is given that environment space, and the child is allowed to interact with his environment and allowed to use their hands. The child has the capacity to learn in that space, to be independent. So she believes, I'm not quoting her verbatim. What I'm saying is she believes that with the right environment and the right freedom to move in a space that is well taught through. Okay, you need to think about that space. You need to be sure that you have created a safe space that invites the child to learn in that environment. So she's saying in the right environment, just allowing a child be in the right environment and giving the freedom to interact with nature, interact with the things in that environment, the child is able to self-teach. Okay, the child can teach himself in that environment. Now I've been reading a lot about Thomas Edison. Okay, about Thomas Edison recently, because we just finished the financial course. We were on that course for 2 whole months. Okay, and Thomas Edison was a case study for me while we're teaching the children. Thomas Edison was self-taught. Like, he came out of school, his mother taught him to read and to write. After that, most of all that he knew, most of all that he did was because he taught himself. Now, this is someone that is the world's biggest inventor. It is said that he had over 1,000 patent rights, meaning he had so many inventions, things that he created from the scratch on his own. Because what? His mind was explosive. He could think with his mind. He could do amazing things with his mind. He did not go, he wasn't in the 4 walls of a classroom per se. He didn't have to do the grades per se. He was learning, and he enjoyed and he loved learning, and so he could learn from his environment, and he could use the information he got from his environment to proffer solutions. So what are we saying? I am saying, from the time your child is 0 to 6, Montessori believes that this is the sensitive period for your children to learn the skills that they need to navigate the world, the skills that are needed for your children to be effective. From 0 to 6 is the sensitive period for many skills that your children would need for the rest of their lives. So meaning, this is the period that you should pay the most attention to your child. 0 to 6, dear parents, that is the period where you should pay the most attention to your child. Your 0 to 6 should not have a parent who is not involved. That's what we're saying. When your child is 0 to 6, you should be present in their lives. You should be involved in their lives. You should be programming. You should be putting in their face the things that you want to see. Your children will learn, and your children will give energy to the things in their environment. So I wrote yesterday, I wrote a short post, and I said that the most important parenting lesson that you need as a parent is actually learned from watching your children, being involved, speaking to your children, being involved in their lives. Basically, this is the most important parenting lesson that you need, especially in the first 6 years of their lives. Being in their life, being present, listening to them, and allowing them guide you on how best they want to be supported. So between when your children are 0 and 6, You are actually watching the child and you are supporting the child. That's what Montessori meant when she said, putting your child in the right environment, meaning that environment has been made safe. The environment, you have put the kind of things that your child should be learning in that environment. Remember, during this phase of their life, their brain is absorbing everything in their environment that they can sense. So your child is using his sense of smell, his sense of touch, his sense of sight. Every sense is active 100%. Like if there's anything like that, their senses are at the peak. It's like if you put just imagine it as something that can electrocute you. Imagine that their senses is in that space. It means that if you come near, the shock that it will shock you, because their senses are that alert during this time of their lives. So meaning the ages between 0 and 6, if you put the things you want to see in your child's environment, that is how your child will consume that thing. That is how your child will begin to interact with those things in their environment. And this is how your child will internalize the things in their environment. So what environment are you creating, and what resources are you creating in that environment so that your child, what resources are you creating in that, one second please. What resources do you have in that environment so that your child can learn from that environment firsthand? So that your child can learn from that environment firsthand. That's what we're talking about here today. What environment? Because your child's environment during this first stage of their lives, during this sensitive period of their life, their environment is everything during this sensitive period of their lives. Now, the sensitive period of your child's life, there is, even in those 6 years, there is the period that your child is naturally drawn to a particular experience or a particular skill in that environment. So it means that if you can pay attention to that period in your child's life, the age is an age range. So at any point during this age range, you will notice that your child is drawn to a particular thing in their environment. Now, if you're paying enough attention to see what that thing that your child is drawn to during that period, and then you begin to create stimulation, you begin to create stimulation, create learning around that area, do more with the child in that area during that sensitive period. Science says that your child learns in the most authentic way during that period. Your child will learn that skill without stressing. It comes like second nature, because at that point the child is drawn naturally to that skill. Now, for reading, this period is between the ages of 3 and 5. That is the sensitive period for reading. Now, the sensitive period for reading is between 3 and 5. So what are we saying? That between 3 and 5, your child is naturally drawn to the skill of reading between 3 and 5. Now, I hope you know that whole reading skill, your child's ability to learn, to enjoy learning, writing, all of that, don't look at these things in isolation, because they need all of these skills, right? And some of these skills, they actually overlap themselves in the sensitive period. So for instance, the sensitive period for language is from 0 months. Like right from when your child is 0 age, your child is ready for language. Your child is in the sensitive period for language. So meaning, also when you see educators have created nursery rhymes, they do all those sounds and all those things, and these things are recommended for you. It's not because we are looking for how you can give your children these things so that your children will sleep and leave you alone. It's because it's important. Your child is in the sensitive period for language, and so everything that is sound in their environment, the child is able to interact with it, the child is able to absorb it. So dear parents, imagine that this is the time that you have your bedtime story, and you are every night to your 0-year-old And so Barbie jumped up because she was excited. You learn how to read the story in an exciting way. You're using the right tone. You are using, and then you're telling the story. You're using the right vocabulary. You are reading. Your child is absorbing. Your child is already enjoying stories. Your child is already making. I beg, I'm too passionate this afternoon. Let me calm down small. Woo! All right, as I was saying. So the sensitive period for language is from 0. So the best way you can teach language at this stage is this is a good time to introduce books. That's what I am saying. It's a good time to introduce books. And how can you introduce books? Bedtime stories is an easy way to introduce books because it's a time that you are likely relaxed. Your child is relaxed. You've given them a bath. The child is now, the child has you in their, is in your arm. The child is cuddling. The child is in that good space, isn't it? And then you take a lovely story, a big book that your child can see, colorful, right? The child can see a colorful book. And then you put your child sitting down in a particular way. And then you open the book. The child can touch it. The child can see it. The child can interact with that book. Then the child can interact with the sound that is coming from you. The child is interacting with the words that you are speaking, the spoken words, the vocabulary. You are already programming the brain. Everything that you're saying, the brain is soaking in. The ears are soaking in. Everything that the child can see, the eye, the sight is soaking in. Everything the child can hear, the ears are soaking in. Everything. That's why they want to touch the book. They want to feel with a book. If you can get the real book that's got different texture, the child can touch and the child can feel. Parents, you have started the journey to your genius that you want at age 16. This is where it begins. Because the subconscious mind is taking it. What is happening? It's learning that is happening. The neural pathways that need to connect are beginning to connect for this experience. So the neurons are connecting. You're already creating the pathway. And then you now make this consistent, because consistency is very key during this period. You now make this consistent and you're doing it. Then you now find creative ways to do it. See, these are the kind of things that I think of when I put together courses. Okay, so last year I put together a summer program, a reading program for the summer holiday, and I called it a fun summer fun reading, blah blah blah, for children up to 16 years old. Recently I started thinking, I'm like, what am I doing with 15, 16-year-olds? Like, really, 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 what is my goal? My goal is to help parents understand how big this whole thing about reading is. And my goal is about helping children understand that this programming happens between ages 0 and 6. And then my goal is to make parents know that it's not just about you buy one book, you read it once, you throw it, and then you start shouting, oh, books are expensive, but you don't have a problem with buying pizza for those children. You don't have a problem with buying clothes. You don't have a problem with buying shoes that are expensive. You do not have a problem with paying big school fees, but you have a problem with anything that has to do with you being the one to be involved in it. So that's why you hear when you talk and you talk about, oh, children, what you can do, how you can be intentional, how you can be the one to position yourself, how you can create plans, how you can do. You hear parents saying, I beg you, leave it. It's God that trains children. The moment it comes to something that you need to do, something that falls at your feet, when it has to do with your child, you move it to God. Every time. Yeah, this is the same you. When you wanted to drive, is it not God that helps people to drive? It's God now. Is it not God that protects us? So why did you go to driving school now? You just sat down in your house. You wake up in the morning, Heavenly Father, I bow down, I worship you. You are able. There is nothing. I can do all things through Christ. Can you not do all things? You can do all things through Christ. Take your key and drive your car. But no, you go to driving school. Isn't it God that protects? Isn't it God that provides? You're locking your door every day. Why are you locking it now? It's God that protects. Why? It's God that protects. Leave the door open. God's going to protect you. And then you look for the jobs. You look for the jobs, you go there, you sit for the interview, you study for the interview, you do all of that. Why? It's God that gives jobs. I mean, leave it. I mean, don't you hear testimonies like that? I did not do anything. I was just sleeping on my bed and sipping Coke. I'm just sleeping on my bed and sipping tea. And they called me to come and take the job. And I took the job. When you get to the job, stay there and sip tea also. They will move you to the next level. Sip some more tea. You will move to the next level till you become director. Be sipping tea. Is God that? So every time it has to do with our children, and every time that we need to move away from tying it around the teacher's neck, we say, oh, leave it, it's God. It's God, leave all these things. I've seen people, they did everything, the child is still spoiled. Who told you that? I am here and I sit down here and I make bold to tell you today. If you want to raise children who will excel in school, you want to raise children who will really excel in school and excel in every area, parents, get your children stimulated from an early age. Get your children to start reading books. Begin to read to your children. That's actually one of the first level of stimulation. So when you begin to pay attention to language, all those lovely songs, the nursery rhymes, you're teaching your children how to rhyme words, everything, all these things have got the reason. They've got reason. So we put together the summer course this year, and this time we said, no, we're not doing it for 14 and 15. No, we're doing it for just kids 0 to 10. A parent paid for her kids yesterday, and the parents told me, oh, my children are 2 and 4. They are not verbal yet and everything. I said the course is for them. I'm sure she's wondering how they're going to be reading. The course is for you, parents of the 2-year-old and the 0-year-old. So right now, scrolling on my bar, I think that's what we have right there, okay, is the information that you need. Apart from that, I think Christabel already put the information in the comments. If you have children between 0 and 10, waste not a second. Register them for this. Register them. If nothing else, come and learn the first step, okay? It's a whole 30 days. It's a whole 30 days challenge that we are doing here. It's just 3,500 naira. It's not even the price of pizza. It's the price of 2 slices of pizza, perhaps. So this is not the time to start saying, I don't have time. If you are on this stream and you are one of those, I don't have time for you. Right now, I don't have time for you, really. If you're on this stream right now, you're one of those parents that keep shouting, I don't have time. Because the truth is, when there's an emergency, you will have time. When there is an emergency, you will have time. When things go the other way, by the time your children are 15 and 18, you have time. When it is time to move them from one country to the other, move them from one state to the other, because you don't want them to put you to shame. You don't want, the mess that their life has become. You have time that time. But now we're saying foundation is everything. Foundation is everything. Foundation is everything. We're saying, come and learn how to create the foundation. In this challenge, all you need to do is stay in here for the 30 days, and what you have for those 30 days, you can use for the rest of the year. That's it. You can use it for the rest of the year. I don't joke every time I have an opportunity to do anything that will teach my children a new thing, or that will get my children into a new space where learning is concerned. Today, I already called somebody. There's an area that our son is showing interest in. I already called somebody straight up. Can you help and all of that? Then these things don't come free. I'm going to pay. I'm going to pay for it. But the moment the child shows the interest, or the moment I notice that the child needs it, or the moment we are right for that thing, we're putting our head, we're going all the way. So parents, stop using your own to spoil these children's own. If they need it, please get them into that space, let them get it. Somebody asked me, okay, so what time is it going to be? I told them it is flexible. It works for every family dynamics. You will get a video at the beginning of the day with the activity of the day that is explanatory. Each activity is not going to take you more than max 5 to 30 minutes maximum. 5 to 30 minutes. You get the activity done for the day. It's exciting. It has to be exciting for children of this age. If it's not exciting, they are not interested. So it's exciting. And then you get it out of the way, and then, send us videos, send us pictures. The group is just buzzing during the challenge because everybody's doing, it's not really exciting. Everybody's doing, this and doing that. The children are excited, parents are excited. That's what the challenge is about. So I keep saying to people, it's not your usual challenge. No, it's not your everyday challenge. It's not, oh, we're reading how many books? What are the title of the books? No, you're going to set your own target and you're going to share with us your own target. Hands-on activities. Thank you, Chidima. How are you doing? Everything hands-on activities. But in all of this, you will be reading books. In all of this, you'll be reading books in the most exciting way. Yes, that's how it is. So please, if you have not registered for this challenge, we have only 100 slots. And as of today, I think we have 80 something of those slots left. We launched just the day before yesterday, as of today. So the moment we get to 100, we're going to shut down. We're not taking. Because what I want to do with my whole heart. So dear parents, this is, jump in here if you have toddlers. Now, I always say our 6 to 10-year-olds because it's easy to correct whatever it is when your children are between 7 and 10. Whatever you missed in the first, that first period of their learning, okay, from 0 to 6. From 7 to 10, we can nip it in the bud. We can unlearn and relearn. But after that, the work becomes double, becomes much more. I'm not saying there's any point that your child cannot learn. I'm just saying this is the best time. 0 to 6 is the best time. Do it once and for all. Don't give your children, don't hand your children what will help them reparent themselves. No, don't make your children reparent themselves when you can do this work just once and for all. Don't do it. Don't let your children have to deal with trauma. As my coach Wendy would say, it is war. Parenting is war. Where you fight your war and stop, that's where your child will continue fighting from. So how about you fight this war and finish this war? So that when your child takes the battle, your child is just going to be soaring because intentionality is a part of the child's life already. It's part of the child's life already. Your child can know these things, say these things, practice these things, and then they will go away far from it. Didn't scripture say it? That you should bring up the child in the way of the Lord. You should bring it in the way of the Lord. And the child, when they grow, he did not say today. So that's why you're there slapping and beating them all over the place because you want them to not depart from it today. Today is a training period. Today is when you do the drill. I wrote a post like that this morning. Do the drill now. It is when they grow that they will not depart from it. So sow the seeds. It is time to sow the seeds, parents. Sow the seeds right now. And then they will not depart from it after you have sown the seeds. So why does my child have to learn to read? Why is it important that my child reads? Okay, I will give you 5 reasons why it's important that you get your children into that space. I've told you that a sensitive period for language, which is of course a huge part of reading, is from 0. It's from age 0. So yes, you want to introduce your children to rich language from age 0. So you want to speak to your children in clear words. You want to introduce your children to all kinds of vocabulary. Do not reduce anything you're saying because you're talking to the child. I'm saying if that thing is age appropriate. But you see, English language, the words, there's nothing like age appropriate words. Okay, it's not like I will not be saying I won't say plates right now because the child is too young to understand plates. No, use your normal vocabulary. If that's how you talk, use it. You don't use onomatopoeia every day now. So that I said, oh, okay, so do you want me to be telling him things like onomatopoeia? And if you need to use onomatopoeia in your conversation, use it. Okay, so what I'm saying is, when your children are 0 to 6, just have normal conversations with them. So the first set of books I buy for my son is the first, right? I bought my son's first set of books when I was 6 months pregnant. So I would go to work and I'll come back from work. It was a great exercise for me anyway. So I'll go to work and I'll come back from work. I was a young bride at the time, so so I go to work, I come back, I get in, cook and do whatever I have to cook. And then I lie down and I read my book. I read his books first. So I read the books like I am talking to someone who can hear me. I just read anyway. I just read and all that. And then I will read, my Bible plan for the year. I will read it out loud. Okay. And I'm like, are you listening? Isn't that amazing? I just talk that way because somewhere I know that the child can hear. Okay, so I don't know the scientific part of that, but hey, I should have started reading like that. I don't know the scientific part of that, as in how much the child takes and retains at that point. But hey, I just wanted a culture, and I knew that it has to be a habit, and I know that habits are the things that we introduce and we're consistent with. So by the time baby came, I didn't have to stress. I already had a reading culture. So in the evening, I'll give the child a bath. Of course, I did the music, the lullaby, the chords with the music, it was always on. It was always on. There was always one thing, music thing in the background. I was big on that because I understood sounds and language were part of reading and all of that. So we're having conversations. We don't do, bring that thing. No, it's bring the white spoon. It's turn the knob. It's look at the malina tree. It is the black fan. It is the way it is. Rich language. Begin to use it with your children. Oh, you want the rattle. Which of the rattles do you want? You want the blue and green one? You want this one? Use it. Speak to your child like that. You are already setting the stage. You're already setting the stage. By the time your children grow older, bedtime story is it. See, if you don't read stories to your children, what are you doing? Read stories. Children love stories. Human beings love stories. Human beings love stories. That is why you cannot stop yourself from scrolling down your phone. You want to hear what is happening. You want to hear who is the one that has impregnated the 15th woman. You love stories. We like stories. You want to hear stories. You probably will not read a book, but once it is gossip, they said this one happened. Look, I'm sending you the link. I'm sending you the link. You're clicking because you want stories. Children love stories. So tell them stories. How do you initiate stories? You initiate stories by introducing bedtime stories. So introduce bedtime stories to your children as early as possible. So it simply means that you are buying books. So books are should be an essential part of every family. Books is key in every family system. The way you go and you make sure that there's food in your house. We don't make excuse and say, God is the one who feeds. God is the one who is God that will feed people. Yes, you make a list and you go to the market and you buy food and keep in your house. Yet when we say, do this, be intentional about raising the children, it's God that raised children. You don't want to do anything apart from just pay school fees. There was one day, I cannot forget this one. There was a day I stopped to buy stuff when I was leaving school. I was going to pick the children from school, and there's this woman. She came by. She sells. She was selling books and then some Bible games. That's a Bible game basically that you throw a die, and then I have one of them. So when she was selling it, I reminded her that I bought from her before. So you throw a die, and then it tells you when you count. Snake and ladder sort of game. When you count, you get to a point. It tells you read Matthew chapter this. When you get to a point, it will tell you. So basically, just teaching the children to enjoy reading the Bible in a fun way. So she took this book. There was an elderly man that was there. And she brought the game and then books and asked him, so I saw that, and the man turned to her and said, why should I buy? And she's like, yeah, if you have children. Then he said, I beg all these things that you are doing. People would think that it is this thing you are doing that you used to train children. I had a good laugh that day. He was upset. I said he was literally upset with her. Like people would think it's all these things that people are reading that would train children. Don't go and sit down and be training your children. I could just see straight up to this man what training the children meant. I didn't need to have a conversation because I didn't butt into that conversation with those kind of people. Forget about. There's no need. Forget about. Okay, I didn't butt into the conversation, but I can just tell for this man what training the child meant. It simply means if they come back, they don't pass. You finish them. They will know. If they throw a glass on the ground and break a plate, a dish, they will know that something happened to them. You know those kind of people. You know how it was that we were growing up. Anyway, but hey, parents, this is how you train children. This is how you train children. I am telling you today. This is how you train children. All right. So, yes, the first thing you want to do is you want to introduce your children to reading. Okay. That's one of the reasons. Okay. You want to introduce them to the right kind of environment. That is one of the reasons why teaching your children to read or introducing reading in your home is key, because you want to introduce the right environment to your child. You want to program your child right from the very beginning. You want to say to your child, books are a thing. Learning is a thing. In this family, one of our values is learning. One of our values is reading. It's learning. We are lifelong learners. I'm telling you, that's one of my core values in my home. We are lifelong learners. So our children know that learning is a thing for us. So how more can we speak this language than to introduce them into an environment that speaks learning? So right behind me is a library. This library has just the top part. That other part, this one, has my books. The whole of this library is my sons and daughters' book. Everything here is for the children. There. Everything on this library, all of this, my daughters, the whole of this, my son, okay, this my sons, my daughter. In their rooms, they have 4 libraries where they can pick books. They read the books that they are reading. You see there. If you come into my house, the first thing you see at the side is a family bookshelf. Sorry. So no, they know. Okay, on the walls of my home, you see pictures, abstracts that will get you thinking what's going on. You are constantly trying to think. So the space is tailored to help you think, okay, to help you think learning. So that's it. That's one of the reasons you want to program the children to understand that this is a key factor in life. It's very important. So that's one of the reasons. Okay, that's one of the reasons. The next one, you want to teach your children how to express themselves. See, parents, buy your children books. Get your children to read fiction. All you need to do is read and be sure that the book is appropriate, because there are all kinds of rubbish out there right now with all kinds of agendas inside the books that are meant for children. Don't just buy a book and say it's a child's book. So you go and buy it and then give it to your child because it's a child book. No. Go through the books. Good thing is children's books, so it's not usually bulky. Just flip, and then, be sure. Okay? You want to teach your children how to express themselves. Children who interact with words. Children who create pictures in their minds. Children who are able to do this are people who are creative in their thoughts. A child who reads and a child who doesn't read, when they write an essay, when they write essays, you will tell who reads and who doesn't read. So what are you doing? You want to broaden your child's vocabulary bank. You want to broaden their interaction with language, okay, with words, so that your children know how to use words to their advantage. See, your children will get to a point, and sometime in their life, all that will save them or that will set them apart is their use of words. The time will come. It is, how do you figure out what stuff a person is made of? Is it not when you listen to them? You listen to some people, sometimes you see a very handsome, clean-looking gentleman and all of that. And then he opens his mouth and he begins to talk. He speaks for 2 minutes and you are disinterested. Why is that? Why? Can you tell who this person is by just listening to him? Yes. You're already listening and you can tell that this one is garbage. This one is talking nonsense. Why? Because the person has spoken. So yes, you want children who can express themselves, who understand the use of words, who are assertive. Then buy your children books and get your children reading. So I said it starts with bedtime stories. You read them bedtime stories when they are little. You keep reading them bedtime stories every evening. How long does it take? 3 minutes, you're done. 3, you're done with reading a bedtime story to your child. And then you sing the child a lullaby, and then the child goes to sleep. You wake them up with thoughtful words. Hey, my sweetheart is awake, ready to take on the world and make a difference. Hey, look at the sky. The sky is bright. Whatever. Just be blessing your child with words, scripture, everything. Just use rich language with your children. As they grow older, you will notice that your child will be the one to drag the book and say to you, read. The child is the one who wants you to read, because it's become culture. It's become normal. It's their normal. Before you know it, your child is picture reading. My daughter went to school when she was 3 years old. She went to school a month or two after she turned, she's June, July, August, so about 2 months after she turned 3 years old. When she got to school, the first time I stopped to have a conversation with the teacher, like, how is she doing and everything, the first thing the teacher told me is that she loves books. She loves to read. At that point, yes, I started introducing sounds. We were deliberate that she went to school at 3. I didn't want her to go to school earlier. Okay. So we started introducing sounds because we started reading from, she was born into books. Okay, so we had started doing, I had all the what do you call them? The magnets sounds. So I just throw them around in the living room. She's crawling and she picks one and I'll go like, the snake. And then she goes, snake. You know, like that. And then she picks up, you know, and all of that. Then I have an apple. I'm like, sure, the apple basically just feeling her mind up. These are the things we're going to be doing in the challenge. So don't just listen to me. Go. Use the link and register for the challenge. It will be an amazing experience. You will bless your child. You have a niece, you have a nephew, you have a cousin who has children. Register them for this challenge. You have neighbors, tell them about the challenge. It will do them a lot of good. It will do them a lot of good. This is my forte. Those who know me, you know, when I start talking about reading, when I start talking about creating a stimulating environment for your children, when I start talking about your children's purpose, when I start talking about your children's abundance mindset, you know I am a fish in the water. Well, this is my forte, basically. And it's not being proud, it is what it is. All right, so as I was saying, do that. So you will help them learn how to express themselves. Okay? Books will allow your children to build big dreams. It will allow your children able to visualize anything. It will allow your children be creative in their thoughts and in their minds. Because, hey, these are your children sitting down in probably one room in Nigeria, or sitting down somewhere in Ghana, or sitting down even in the United States, and a book can take them to continents that they have not dared to go to. A book can tell them what the Amazon looks like. A book can tell them what Antarctica looks like. A book can tell them anything. So when people read books, somehow the vision of what you read is created in your mind. So it broadens your perspective and it broadens your ability to think wide. So when you begin to say to that child, do you know what school can do? When you get an education opens up the space for you to become a global citizen. Think about it, how you can become a global citizen. And then you begin to sit in the company of great minds. Think about it. You might be sitting on a table where people like Mark Zuckerberg and people like these are sitting in the next 5 years. Just think about it. Because your child reads, because your child's mind is always active, your child is able to create this vision in their head, and your child is able to think and is able to have big dreams. So it's not about telling these children about read your book. If you don't read, you'll not get a good job. What are you talking about? What century do you live in? If you're still a parent that still says to your children, oh, if you don't pass, after everything I've done, after all the money I've spent, if you're still coming from there, you're raising, let me tell you, you're just raising a child that is cramming and giving you the grades that you want to see. When they finish, they are done with you. And I'm talking about your child can actually cram and do this great even up to their master's level. I hope you know that. Because some of us, the moment you say, oh, yeah, enter university, you think, oh, my work is done here, my child is excellent. Who told you? You can, I mean, the way you guys are going these days, you will send them to secondary school. When they finish, you send them to university. They do another 4 or 5 years in the university, they finish. The next thing you send them to masters. Oh, your children have been going to school for 6, 12, 6, 12. Sorry, I'm coming. 6, 4, 6, 3 or 4, 5. Your children will go to school for 16 years. 6, sorry, I'm taking it too far. 6, 4, that's what, 10. Your children will go for 10 to school for 10, 12, 13, 14 years of their lives. Just schooling. Nothing. The thing that you are sending them to school for, you will never get them to practicalize what you're sending them to school for. Your own job, let me go to school. So some of us brag today, oh, my children, I will send them to school. They will not marry, they will not touch anywhere, they will not go anywhere. Nobody, till after their PhD. Oh, well done. What is all of that for? I mean, I'm asking you, what are all of this for? These are the kind of questions I ask my children. So you get an education, then what? Then what? Then what? If you don't master the act of asking your children, then what? Then what? Then what? Then they don't have a purpose. They don't know why they are going to school, because even you do not know why they are going to school. Because if all that they are going to school, you send them to a first degree, they finish, you send them to a second degree, they finish, you send them to go and do PhD, they've not touched a life. They've not made a difference. They've not earned money to save themselves for 10 days or for 1 month. Nothing. You are just sending them. So that what? So that what exactly? So what? They will come out one day and they'll be doctors, and then what? They will get the job that takes them to heaven. They will get the what? They will not, when they come out at once, they will not impact the entire world in one day. I beg, sorry. The Einsteins and all of the Edisons and all of the Bill Gates and all the people that have done wonders that are benefiting our lives today. Are they the ones that did all master and doctorate and everything before they came to impact us? Is that who they were? Or is that what they were? Or is that what they are? Is that what they are? That's not. So why are we raising children for a world that does not exist? Why are we raising children for a reality that does not exist? Because you grew up in an era where you needed an education stamped on your shoulder for you to feel better than your neighbor. What do you think life is all about? I better pass my neighbor. Teach your children to build themselves. They start building themselves by reading, by experiencing the world, starting from their environment at 0 to 6. The environment from 0 to 6, and then they explore the world through books. Because they can explore the world, they begin to think of great things and begin to think of great solutions. And then you can show them the world and show them the importance of education in becoming global citizens. Yes, that's how it comes in. You tell them, do you know what if you add an education to the kind of mind that you have? It means you can create, you can do anything, you can reach anywhere you want to reach, and you can sit on any table you want to sit. That way your children can visualize and they can see the vision of these things, because their minds are open, their minds are wide, because their minds can see and their eyes are wide. If your eyes are open, as my coach would say, if your eyes are open and your mind is blocked, you are still blind. So your eyes need to be open and your mind needs to be open. So for minds to be open, you need to raise children who love to learn, who enjoy learning, who are learning every day. At this level, they are learning through books. It is the reading and the learning and continuously doing this that puts them in that space where they want to keep learning. So dear parents, if your children do not read every day, you're doing them a disservice. If all your children read are school books, textbooks, if that's all they read, there is no world like that. There is no world like that, I say to you. There is no world like that, except you're just raising them to go and be profs in a school where they need to consume all of those things so they can pour it out to the next person. That's the only reason even the prof should read that much, because he needs to take the content of that material and use it to fill another person. But in the real world, I don't think the profs need to read and consume books like that. There are too many experiences. Too many experiences to use and teach your undergraduates without having to just eat up books. So let your children's minds be broad. And then because their mind is broad, they will take on their schoolwork, they will study hard. And then the next thing, you cannot introduce excellence. So it's in the place of excellence that your children know that because my schoolwork is important and because I'm an excellent person, everything that I do with a sense of excellence. And because of that, your children can now do well, even in school and then in knowledge gathering and all of that. Okay, so number 4, the fourth one is when you introduce children to reading, okay, for leisure, your children are able to take that passion into every other thing. So a child who loves to read books, and don't tell me, oh, my daughter, she reads and she doesn't read her school book. There's something that's not happening. She's probably just dragging book all around the place and you people think she's reading, or she's reading for all the wrong reasons. Okay, you don't allow them to evolve in their reading. Okay, so if you're going to introduce your children to reading, then you should be ready to go the full length. Okay, it means that you will put a budget to books. You will buy books for your children every month. Yes, if you buy food, buy books too. So give them books every day. And then as they get older, begin to introduce them. Just throw in other genre of books. I've been trying to get my son to read Nigerian books since December. We got his first set of Nigerian books in December. He doesn't enjoy them yet. But what I came to realize is that the challenge for him with Nigerian books, especially books by Chinua Achebe and books like that, is because of all the serious local names and villages and, all the traditional things. So each time he's struggling with pronouncing them, or why he's pronouncing them, because he cannot visualize them. See, yes, this is what civilization has done. So he's reading about his what do you call it now? I was reading Arrow of God. I had to read Arrow of God with them. So we're reading Arrow of God together. And they're enjoying Arrow of God now because I am reading it to them. So I'm not Igbo. My husband is Igbo. So somehow I try to, and Daddy's not around when we read. So I think what we do is we'll get Daddy to read with them every weekend. That's what I'll do. From now, every weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Daddy will read with them so that he can make more sense out of it. But I try. So when I read, I tell them, when they say he's Obi, okay, so why they pass through is Obi in the middle of the compound and all that. So I'm able to explain to him what's the man's name, what his Obi is. I'm able to explain to them what that is. Okay, so they talk about the yam barn. So they talk about the barn, how he went in and he picked the yam in the barn and he roasted. So they can't because of, do you understand? It's not tangible, it's not authentic because somehow, but hey, it's broadening their mind also, and I'm able to help them create a picture in their head. So this is what reading does. So I'm sure by the time I finish reading, he has read Things Fall Apart. He struggled with Things Fall Apart like this, but eventually, he read it. Why? Because in the mastermind circle, when we have to read a book, we have to read a book. And so the senior partners read Things Fall Apart at a point, and so he had to read Things Fall Apart. And that's why your children should be in circles like this, where they get to grow together and they get to, get into certain space because of what they do. So I'm talking reading. So in the mastermind, if you're in the mastermind, you will read books. So you say, I can't do anything with children without books. I'm sorry. I cannot do anything with children without books because I understand the place of books in their lives. Okay? So when your children read like that, as I said. So number 5 is, okay, I've talked about them creating pictures in their heads, of course. So, of course, when your children read books, I said they are able to take this to every other aspect of their lives. So a child who reads novels and read books, read fiction, is gradually able to take that skill into their schoolwork. So because your child can pick a novel and read a novel for, say, 3 hours, that child might be able to sustain reading for about an hour. Because your child is able to create picture in his head as he reads his novels. Your child tries to read his book, creating some kind of picture, trying to create a picture around the book, the learning in his head. See, there's just a complete transferring. There's a complete transferring of that skill into. I've not seen a child who reads books that doesn't do well in school, except that child is not being supported to really be, an ardent reader. The parent is just using it to talk up and down the place. My both children read well. And so when they come back from school and for some reason they are not probably in the A honor roll, they have A and B, I don't even bother, because I just understand it's a matter of time. My daughter is not the one that will sit down here and read for too long for now. But I'm not even perturbed, because I know that it's not a problem. The foundation is right. It's sitting down there. It's pretty. It's sitting down there. Sometimes I'll be like, you're not studying and all that. Mommy, I know I've read before. And I'm like, okay, come, let's sit down. Okay, let's see. I'm reading a book. You should read something. And then she reads for 20 minutes and she's like, she's done. And I'm like, okay, all right, you can go. And the next time she comes and she gets like 99. She gets 99 and all of that, So the truth about it is, when your children read, and don't stress. Don't stress. In fact, even if they are not reading, you're giving them the book, they're not reading yet. Keep buying the books. Do a read aloud with them from time to time. Just keep it going. Keep it going, especially for those of you that didn't start early. Just keep it going. Buy the books. Oh, sweetie, I bought 2 books for the month. It's there. You're going to read it throughout this month, right? We're going out. Oh, did you get your book? Are you sure you don't want to read in the car? All right, take now. Just read to me. Let's talk about the story together and all of that. It's evening. Okay, what are you reading these days? Come now. Let me read part of your story with you. You read. My daughter has been reading. Where is that book? Daddy's Manual or something like that. Something she got from the Girl Hub, a program she belongs to. She's had that book for 2 months. She's not been reading it for some reason. I don't know. She picks every other thing. She doesn't pick it. So it's the holiday and she has reading. My kids read for at least 1 hour during the holiday. Just leisure reading. You just pick a book and read. Okay. So before I came for this live, so I asked her, what is she reading today? And she's like, she doesn't even have a new book. I'm like, have you finished reading that book? She was like, oh, and she picks it and she's reading. She's been reading since then. Before I came on this live, she's like, Mommy, it's so interesting. I didn't know. I'm like, so why didn't you read it before? For some reason, I don't know whether the way the book is shaped did not appeal to her. I don't know what it is. Anyway, but she got reading. And she's like, it's so nice, so interesting. I got a book. I was saying that in a live show the other day. I got a book that I was supposed to read in the mastermind. She went through the book one time and then she dropped it in like how many minutes? She's like, she's done. I'm like, okay. But she said, is this what we're reading in the circle? I said, yeah. She said, no, it's not good enough. As in, it's not, we're more than this. That's how she puts it. She said the junior partners were more than this. Like, we have outgrown this kind of book now. Like, think about it. So, parents, when you have children, the conversations you even have will tell you that, relax. It's a matter of time, okay? And then the final one is, when your children read books, your children cannot be limited. Children who read books cannot be limited. People who read books, they can venture into anything and everything because it feels like I've been there. I have an idea. So every time I want to talk about a subject, a matter, I want to have a conversation with any of our children. What I do is I look for a book or a material that is about that thing. And I just hand it and I move on and I say, read it, we'll talk about it. So when I wanted to up the sex conversation with our son about Maintain Your White, a book by Tima. Okay, when I wanted to up our sex conversation, I bought that book. And then I handed it to him and I said, read, we'll talk about it. And then he started reading. And then one day I said, let me just look at it. So if I looked through the book and I said, okay, this book, we'll understand it better together. So when he was in year 6, we read Maintain Your White. Year 7, we read Maintain Your White. So every time I am driving, as I'm driving, he opens and then we read one chapter or read half of a chapter, we discuss it. So that way we're not looking into each other's eyes, we're just talking, we're talking about masturbation, we're talking about erections, we're talking about everything. In the book, we're talking about, the writer's experience, how the writer got into a fix with a boy. We're talking about this. He's looking at experiences. He's a teenager. He was about to become a teenager, and we can already have these conversations. We can already have this. So today I can just come and he wakes up and I'm like, any wetness? I just say it like that and he's like, nah. These conversations are nothing. So when your children read, you can hand them anything and you can have conversations about anything. When your children read, you can get them to talk with any group of people and they are not moo when they are talking because they got substance. All right, people. I think this is it. We've taken a little longer than we should. Thank you for joining me for this session. Okay, I thought my other light is going to come on. All right, so thank you very much. We're going to stop here today. Thank you for being a part of that. I was going to show you my book. So this is my book, Bedtime Stories for Champions. Sorry, I still live in Nigeria. I still live in third world Africa. And so I just had a power cut. It doesn't work. It's dead. So I just had a power cut. I'm sorry, so you can see me clearly. All right, so Bedtime Stories for Champions, my first book, is stories that you can read with your children, but it's stories about people and the great things that they are doing. We also have the Skill Up Journal. This journal there, this is how you get your children to start setting goals, planning, and all executing. We use it in the mastermind. You should get this. We're giving it away at a low price right now. Okay, instead of 4,500 naira, this journal is going for 2,099, approximately 3,000 naira, and you can get it. You can check our seller store. We'll put the link here so you can check out the books that we have there and you can order copies for your children. Let your children read. Thank you very much for joining me. I do not take it for granted that you make me a part of your parenting journey. I think we need to go away right now, especially I should have taken off my camera since. All right, so thank you very much. Have a pleasant rest of the day. All right, I hope you got value from this session. If you did, and then if you want to join the reading summer book challenge, just go ahead and see the comments. You will see the link there, or you can just take a screenshot of your screen. The information is on the bar, and then you can use it to register. I hope you got value from this session. I can't see your I can see your comments. It doesn't seem like there's any question. Okay, but if there is, we've gone beyond our time. If there is, I'm going to just look at it and then I will give you answers in the comments. You can check that, especially if you are on Facebook. Okay, I'll see if there are any questions on YouTube. I'll put it in the description. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a fantastic rest of the day. Bye. Bye-bye.